My name is Liam, and I'm a 34-year-old warehouse manager. I work long hours and often shop at Costco late at night when the store is less crowded. It was during one of these late-night trips that I experienced something I can't shake from my mind. It was a chilly evening in December when I pulled into the Costco parking lot around 10 p.m. The lot was almost empty, which I preferred. I grabbed a few items from my shopping list and headed inside. The store was mostly quiet, with just a few other shoppers milling about. As I wandered through the aisles, I noticed an employee restocking shelves in the far corner of the store. Something about his demeanor struck me as odd. He seemed unusually tense, glancing around nervously. I shrugged it off and continued with my shopping. I picked up some groceries and moved toward the back of the store to check out the electronics section. That's when I heard a faint noise coming from one of the storage rooms. It sounded like a muffled cry for help. My initial reaction was to ignore it, thinking it was just my imagination playing tricks on me in the quiet store. But the noise persisted, growing slightly louder. I decided to investigate. I walked towards the storage area and noticed that the door to the back room was slightly ajar. I pushed it open and peered inside. The room was dimly lit and cluttered with boxes and supplies. In the corner, there was a large pile of discarded packaging. Behind it, I saw something that made my blood run cold. There was a pool of blood on the floor, and a man was lying unconscious in a corner. His clothes were torn, and he was covered in cuts and bruises. My heart raced as I pulled out my phone to call 911. I was trying to stay calm as I described the scene to the dispatcher. I'm at Costco. There's a man hurt badly in one of the storage rooms. There's a lot of blood. Please send help. The dispatcher assured me that help was on the way. I stayed with the injured man, doing my best to keep him awake and conscious. His breathing was shallow, and he was barely responsive. I couldn't tell if he was awake or just barely clinging to life. While waiting for the police and paramedics to arrive, I noticed that the restocking employee I had seen earlier was nowhere to be found. The store was starting to feel eerily empty, and the silence was unsettling. The lights seemed dimmer, and every noise echoed. When the police arrived, they quickly took over the situation. The paramedics worked to stabilize the injured man and get him to the hospital. The officers began questioning me, taking notes and inspecting the storage room. They told me they would follow up with me if they needed any more information. Later that night, I learned that the injured man was a local handyman who had been working at Costco for a side job. It turned out he had been attacked by someone he knew, a disgruntled former employee who had a history of violent behavior. The attacker had used the cover of night to carry out the assault, hoping it would go unnoticed. The incident left me shaken. I never expected to stumble upon such a violent scene in what seemed like a mundane shopping trip. The fact that it happened in a store I frequented made it even more unsettling. I found myself constantly replaying the events of that night and worrying about my safety. In the weeks that followed, I avoided late-night shopping and took extra precautions when going out. The experience taught me a harsh lesson about the unpredictability of danger and how quickly things can spiral out of control. Now, when I walk through a store, I'm always more aware of my surroundings, and I can't help but feel a sense of unease. That night at Costco remains a vivid reminder of how violence can occur in the most unexpected places. It's a stark lesson that safety can never be taken for granted, no matter how familiar or routine a place might seem.